What's up guys, Scholar here, and holy shit, we got some news from San Diego Comic-Con. There's been so many things announced. I'll do a separate video on the Marvel and DC stuff, but today's main focus will be Spider-Man freshman year. We did get an update and there's quite a bit to talk about. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, hit the subscribe button. I try my best to keep you guys updated on Spider-Man news. Eventually I'll branch out to other things. Spider-Man is my favorite thing to talk about at the moment though. So if that interests you, turn notifications on. Don't forget to leave your opinion on what we talk about or today's video in the comments below. With that being said, let's get straight into the news. So yeah, San Diego Comic-Con is happening right now, and Spider-Man freshman year was one of these shows that they gave us first looks at in terms of the animated section of the Marvel panel. And it's very exciting but very confusing, but I may be able to clear up some of that confusion for you guys with a new perspective. So first up, they showed Peter Parker and his character's design, and let me say, this art style is absolutely fucking gorgeous. This art style is an absolute love letter to the Ditko era in the comics in the 60s, but more modernized, and it's just fantastic. Peter still looks like that semi-attractive but nerdy wallflower guy he is. Next up, they gave us a look at a very early on prototype Spider-Man suit Tom Holland would have worn early on in his Spider-Man days, and there's a lot to talk about with this suit. So I enjoy the overall design. It's very first costume, homemade type of vibes. His mask has the cool eyes but has a strap around his head, so it doesn't look like the eyes are connected to the actual fabric like a regular costume. It's more he has a red mask thing, probably cut out eye holes in the red mask and put these goggle lenses over the holes type of situation. So it seems like very practical. Then he seems to be wearing a long sleeve with the jersey on top, and it has the classic spider logo, which is typically on the back of the suit, but it's on the front here. Definitely a little different and interesting. He's got his school backpack and probably regular shoes he wears to school and some blue sweatpants with red stripes on the sides. Not so bad. But now the interesting part, in my opinion at least, is his web shooters. They look like the Scarlet Spider ones, but they seem to be connected to this big canister on his back. Very odd, but again, very practical, and it shows Peter is innovative and he will obviously evolve from the canister to small webbing cartridges over time, showing his smart. So now next up, this is the first kind of bomb they dropped, which was some of Peter Parker's friends in the show, and this is interesting and a diverse crowd of people, and I'm all for it. I don't really see any familiar faces though, other than Harry Osborn, which is this guy. So yeah, this is apparently Harry Osborn, and it kind of blew my mind because how will it be canon to the MCU? But then I figured, oh okay, maybe like they were friends in early childhood, but maybe they didn't get too close to each other yet sort of situation, because I don't know, one of them moved schools or something along those lines possibly, which means they could only be friends with each other on a first name basis, which also means Peter never met Osborn until obviously No Way Home, technically. That's what I'm assuming, like the route that they could go. So I generally got excited because since this is canon, as they stated it is to the MCU, this could be the setup for Harry Osborn, and maybe he could return or make his first official debut in MCU live action, and he could look for his old friend Peter Parker and come to New York, and that friendship could fill the void for Peter since Ned and MJ are at MIT and don't know who Peter is anymore. But that's not the last bomb they dropped. They showed us Daredevil. Yes, that's right, the man without fear will be appearing, and on top of it, Charlie Cox, who cameos as Matt Murdock in No Way Home, will be voicing him. That's so amazing. So far, like we're doing good, right guys? This could still fit MCU canon. This looks like maybe an early Daredevil prototype suit, or maybe not, I don't know, but I think it looks pretty dope, and this is cool because this could set up them having a team up in the movies like they usually do team ups in the comics and even the animated series as well, and they never find out each other's identities, so that No Way Home still makes sense. They are oblivious to each other's identities, or maybe not Matt Murdock to Spider-Man, because typically Daredevil knows kind of just by his senses, if I'm not mistaken, but he keeps it to himself because he respects Spider-Man like that. But either way, good. Like so far this could work just great, right? Overall, I was thinking so far, okay, like they're setting up all this stuff most likely so that, you know, they could have these characters show up in Spider-Man 4 probably, and it could all make sense. The Spider-Man Daredevil team up, Harry Osborn's coming to the MCU, etc. They're revealing some good stuff for Tom Holland Spider-Man. Then boom, the second biggest bombshell, the villains. Yeah, none of this makes sense now so far because we have the Scorpion and Doc Ock, and right there, like, just what? So Scorpion hasn't become Scorpion yet in the MCU. We see Matt Gargan at the end of No Way Home, but we haven't seen him since, so this wouldn't exactly make sense in terms of like Homecoming in general. Now next up, Doc Ock. This also doesn't make any sense because Tom Holland's Peter Parker and Doc Ock's interaction with each other in No Way Home, when Peter was asking him what his name was or whatever, you know, like that wouldn't make sense. And then the rest of these characters, I actually have no clue who they are. Others I could probably make out though. So here, this is most likely Black Cat, because in the new animated series from MTV, the Black Cat type character was a black girl, and I enjoyed this Black Cat very. She doesn't need help, I can do it on my own, and you won't stop me, and puts up a good fight with Spider-Man kind of vibe she gave me. So maybe that's Black Cat, I don't know, just speculating. And then next to her, I believe we have Rhino, or that could also be Ox, or whatever the big dude's name from the Enforcers is. I'm pretty sure it's Ox if I'm not wrong. And then right here is obviously Chameleon, which is definitely cool, and that could still be canon possibly, because Dimitri wasn't far from home, but the rest is kind of confusing and doesn't make much sense. So now the biggest bombshell, which is sort of just like, what? And like maybe more confused at first. This image right here look familiar? So yeah, it seems like they're replacing Tony Stark with Norman Osborn, which is like completely fine. So like that is supposed to be Norman Osborn, which is great. Like he even has like the waves. Honestly, I mean, I just can't believe they did it. Who would have thought? Okay, on a serious note though, I really hope we get, damn, I might butcher his name, Giancarlo Esposito. Oh my god, Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. There we go. Casted for Norman Osborn. I think he can do it for MCU. So now back to the whole canon situation. There's a description going out there about the show, and I'll read it off to you guys and put it on the screen right here. Spider-Man Freshman Year is an animated series that follows Peter Parker on his way to becoming Spider-Man in the MCU, with a journey unlike we've ever seen and a style that celebrates the character's early comic book roots. An amazing style, by the way. Executive producer Jeff Trammell serves as head writer, and it's coming exclusively to Disney Plus in 2024, 2 years from now. But yeah, the point is, Marvel is literally emphasizing that this is canon in the MCU, but the question is how. So I believe there's a couple of things we should consider and factor in when trying to figure out how exactly this show is canon in the MCU. So Norman Osborn in No Way Home did say that Oscorp does not exist, but he did also say someone is living in my house. So I mean, those people definitely could be just some average normal New York citizens, but what if they weren't? Maybe he met MCU Norman Osborn or Harry Osborn or whoever answered the door by chance. Who knows who's living there? They didn't specify, because I mean, like, I'm sure he's not gonna ask like their names in the interaction, just like hypothetically speaking. But we also have to think about Doctor Strange and the spell that he casted in Spider-Man No Way Home and factor in the multiverse shenanigans. Doctor Strange literally did erase the memory of Peter Parker from everyone, basically. With that being said, Tony Stark did track down Spider-Man through Peter Parker, as we saw in Captain America's Civil War. But since Doctor Strange casted that spell, maybe that spell being casted changed Peter Parker's past and who he's met, and his encounters ended up being different, causing him to have different situations happen, different villains he may have fought, different people he met, and maybe he doesn't know about that in No Way Home moving forward. Sort of like a Flash type of situation, where whenever the Flash fucks with the timeline, it changes and he doesn't find out until something is out of place or not normal that he like interacts with or notices. And this could also be due to the fact that Kang isn't currently here in the MCU as of right now, because Sylvie did end up killing Kang, who was keeping the sacred timeline intact, aka the MCU 616. And if he was here, he could have prevented that spell from being casted and set Doctor Strange and Spider-Man on like their already normal set path. So I believe that is the explanation, or the second possible explanation for how this is canon to the MCU is the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness situation. In Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, he travels to another Earth with a whole different group of Avengers, but they are technically MCU characters, just a different Earth, a different multiverse situation kind of thing. That might be what they mean by it's in the MCU, it's just a different Earth or something. So I guess it seems like they're taking inspiration from the MCU and mimicking similar things, but it's a different version of the MCU. I think possibly the best way to explain this is it's probably like how in the Flash CW show, when Cisco and Caitlin, they travel to another Earth and they meet themselves, same exact characters, different situations happened, different events unfolded, and in that world they are both villains at the time, if you guys know anything about the Flash. But the original canon like characters were not villains, they were good guys. But in general terms, this happened in the comics. Things get convoluted, things get confusing, and things get retconned, etc. in the comic book world. It was only a matter of time before it started happening in the MCU. So just remember guys, we are living history and this will be in a book someday. However, on a serious note, I believe most people are confused and disappointed in this seemingly not being MCU canon for the main fact that we already have great standalone Spider-Man cartoons like the 90s animated animated series, which I recently did a video on if you want to check that out, and another great adaptation being Spectacular Spider-Man series, which I'll also do another video on eventually when I get to it as well. Anyhow, people were expecting this to be a specific tie-in for Tom Holland's Spider-Man to add onto this Spider-Man story / lore, so I believe that's why most people seem disappointed, and I mean, I kind of don't blame them. Marvel sort of advertised this show as a prequel to Captain America Civil War / Homecoming. Some people think this is a new Spidey cartoon with MCU clickbait, which I mean, like, I'm not sure I agree on that. We'll have to wait and see till the show comes to our mobile devices. And next up, they showed some of the suits that we will see in the show. I'm gonna say not bad. We have the classic suit, of course, great as always to see that, and then we have the Future Foundation suit, which is pretty dope. Fantastic Four confirmed. Hopefully they show up. I mean, they have to, right? How else would you get that suit? And then we got this black suit with wings on it. Kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about it. And then we have a couple of weird suits. I don't know what those are, but whatever. I don't know. We got the classic suit. They also as well confirmed there will be a season 2, so they must have something good on their hands, I hope. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications to never miss an upload. I try to do daily Spider-Man content with some other stuff in the mix here and there as well. Leave your opinion on today's video or what we talked about in the comments below. Are you excited for Spider-Man freshman year or not so much because it doesn't seem canon to MCU Spidey? Let me know down below in the comments. Either way, I'll be watching and reviewing the show when it does come out, so stay tuned to the channel for when that happens. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.